My mother died on a Tuesday. It was sudden, heart attack, no warning. One minute she was laughing on the phone with me, the next she was gone. I was devastated. But before I even allowed myself to break down, I did what I was trained to do. I sent a professional email to my boss requesting time off. 4 days, just 4. To fly out, bury my mother, and come back to the job I'd been loyal to for 6 years. He approved it with a short response. No condolences, just approved, see you next week. I didn't think twice. I flew home, stood beside my family, gave a eulogy with shaking hands. I didn't even cry until the last night when I was alone in the hotel room, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the world had shifted under my feet. When I came back to the office the following Monday, the air felt strange. My badge didn't unlock the side door. I had to be buzzed in by security. That's when I saw the email. It was from him, my boss. The subject line, termination final notice. Inside it said, "We expect employees to prioritize their roles, even during difficult personal moments. Since your time away compromised critical deliverables, we have decided to terminate your employment effective immediately." That was it. No meeting, no warning, no handshake. I sat in my cubicle, numb, surrounded by coworkers who didn't even look me in the eye. I packed my things, the framed photo of my mother, my pens, my half-dead succulent, and walked out the front door without saying a word. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, but inside something clicked. He didn't fire me for underperforming. He fired me for grieving, and he thought that would be the end of it. He had no idea who he just tried to erase. I spent the first 2 days after being fired doing absolutely nothing. No job search, no emails, no venting on social media. I just sat in my apartment staring at the box of my mother's things that I hadn't unpacked. And I thought, he really thinks he won. That's what fueled me. He thought I would disappear quietly, like the problem he assumed I was. But I wasn't a problem. I was the storm on the horizon. So I started digging. First, I reached out to a former coworker from HR, someone who had been laid off months earlier during a so-called restructure. She still had access to some files. She'd always hated our boss, said he was sleazy, arrogant, and just smart enough to cover his tracks. We met for coffee. I bought. She brought her laptop. She showed me something interesting. Turns out he had a habit of terminating employees just before their bonuses hit, saving the company thousands each quarter. And not just once or twice. It was a pattern. He also had several complaints filed against him for inappropriate comments, retaliation, and misreporting time off, most of them mysteriously resolved with no paper trail. But there was one thing he hadn't covered up well. 2 months before my termination, he'd approved a contract with a third-party vendor, one that his girlfriend happened to run. It was a conflict of interest. The payment was disguised as consulting, but the invoices matched her LLC, and the address was their shared apartment. That was enough to open a door. I compiled everything, every document, every complaint, screenshots, emails, payment records, photos from their Instagram account proving their relationship. And I sent it, anonymously, to corporate compliance, the legal team, and a few board members I knew by name. I didn't rant. I didn't even mention my own firing. I just let the truth speak for itself. Within a week, I got a call. Not from the company. From a reporter. Someone in compliance had leaked it to the press. The headline was brutal. Company exec under fire for firing grieving employee. Alleged kickbacks to girlfriend's firm. It exploded. And I wasn't even done yet. By the end of that week, the company was in full damage control mode. They released a vague statement about taking allegations seriously and conducting a thorough internal investigation. But it was too late. The story had legs, and it was running at full speed. Employees started talking, anonymously at first, then publicly. Former coworkers shared their experiences of being bullied, micromanaged, and let go for petty reasons. There were screenshots, voicemails, even one woman who said he mocked her for asking maternity leave. And me? I stayed silent. That was the most satisfying part. I didn't have to say a word. Everyone else was doing it for me. I watched him squirm during a town hall Zoom that leaked online, visibly sweating, stumbling over questions, saying things like, "We value empathy, and there's been a misunderstanding." The comments section? Brutal. They called him out by name, said what everyone had been too afraid to say when they worked under him. The board launched a formal audit. And then came the cherry on top. The consulting firm registered to his girlfriend was blacklisted by the company's procurement system. An internal email about the breach leaked on Reddit. The girlfriend tried to scrub her LinkedIn. Her Instagram went private, but screenshots were already everywhere. They'd burned the wrong bridge, and I was still just getting started. Because while his world was crumbling, I was building a new one. I reached out to a few people, former clients I'd helped through my job, vendors I'd worked with, and one particular executive who'd once told me, "If you ever leave that place, call me." I called. 2 weeks later, I was consulting full time. Remote, better pay, actual flexibility. My name was on every report. My face was on every Zoom. I even landed a feature in a business magazine about women turning career betrayal into opportunity. I didn't tell them who betrayed me. I didn't need to. The irony? That same week, my old company scrubbed his name from the staff directory. They called it a leadership transition. But everyone knew. When they finally fired him, there was no press release, no goodbye email, no farewell cake in the conference room, just gone. One day his name was on the executive roster, and the next, wiped like it never existed. But the internet remembers everything. The articles were still circulating. The screenshots, the exposed invoices. One Reddit thread even compared him to a cartoon villain. Smug, sloppy, and way too confident. I heard whispers that he tried to threaten the company with a wrongful termination suit, said he was being made a scapegoat. It didn't go anywhere. Turns out corporate had found even more during the audit. Misused funds, off the books perks. He'd been double dipping for years. By the time it was over, he didn't just lose his job. He lost his career. No company wanted his name anywhere near their leadership team. His LinkedIn went dark. Last I checked, he was consulting under a fake LLC, pitching generic business webinars to anyone desperate enough to pay $99 for recycled PowerPoint slides. Meanwhile, my story, the real one, quietly kept growing. I started a newsletter. Just advice, stories, insights on navigating toxic workplaces. Within a few months, I had thousands of subscribers. Then came podcast invites, panel discussions, speaking gigs. I never used his name, never needed to. All I said was this: I lost my job after taking 4 days off to bury my mother. That moment taught me everything I needed to know about who I was and who I never wanted to be. People listened. They shared it. They followed me. And every single time someone told me, that happened to me too, I knew I'd done something bigger than revenge. I'd built something lasting. One day, I walked past the building where I used to work, just for fun. I stood across the street, coffee in hand, watching the revolving door spin. No one noticed me, no one recognized me, but I saw it all with perfect clarity. The place that once chewed me up, irrelevant. The man who thought firing me was just another power move, forgotten. And me? I didn't just rise, I rewrote the story. Because sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about becoming so powerful, so visible, so untouchable, that the people who tried to break you can't even look you in the eye. They just look down and hope you don't recognize them.